fear of, well, what if I don't make it? Or what if someone judges me again? Or what if I'm not good enough?
When someone hurts you, it's that much harder to show that love and compassion.
But I don't let that define me.
Right.
That's what true confidence is.
So Katie and I, as you can tell, have been friends for 3 years now, almost. Yeah. It's our 3-year friendversary, we realized, as we were setting up. We actually haven't talked much about your voice journey, in that I feel like we've been getting closer, but we still haven't, I don't know that much about your voice journey.
Where to start?
So that's why I'm really excited to have this conversation. Because I'm doing this journey, I'm kind of taking the audience on this journey of what it means to find your voice, because I know, as you know, I've been kind of on that journey for the past 2-3 years. I want to understand and help articulate to people, what does it actually mean? So I guess my first question for you is, when you hear finding your voice, what does that mean to you?
I think that finding your voice could be seen or understood as the literal sense of learning how to speak out and sharing what you believe in, sharing your truth, sharing what you want to say with other people that otherwise you would have suppressed. And I think that could be on a speaking sense, it could be on a singing sense, and it could also be seen as metaphorically of finding who you are, not just your voice literally.
Yeah. I think that's a huge piece, is that it does tie to, whether people realize it or not, it ties to figuring out who you are. Because the voice is just such a core piece of how we communicate as humans. So it's that's how, beyond the visual, that's how you show up in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially on social media these days. So many people are posting content now more than ever before, and so we're being asked to step forward and share our voices. So I think it's challenging a lot of people to start to look inward and ask themselves the deeper questions of, who am I and what do I want to share? What do I want to express? And we've talked about this before of, a lot of people don't like hearing themselves speak or talk or sing.
That used to be me. I used to hate hearing myself on camera.
Same. So you start somewhere. And I think the first time you hear yourself for the first time from an external perspective, it can feel a little strange because you're used to hearing your inner voice, the inner dialogue in your head. So when you start expressing that out loud, it can feel uncomfortable or just weird or different, or the self-judgment starts to kick in. And so I think that now more than ever, our voice is being reflected back to us. And so that's creating a chance for us to start to question, actually, what have I been sharing? And who am I? And what do I want to say? And challenging us to actually find our voice rather than hide behind it.
Yeah, so a lot of externalizing the internal. I want to now. So you're a I don't want to butcher this, so correct me. Regenerative functional medicine PA.
Yes, perfect.
And I nailed it. Okay, you're also an NLP master practitioner. Any other key credentials?
I've done my yoga teacher training. I did that. I've studied to become a functional nutrition guide. More specifically, I've done transcendental meditation, a lot of different things. So I just continue to build up my arsenal of different trainings and skill sets so that way I can better myself and then also to help guide other people back to themselves too.
Yeah, so that's the reason I asked is the core of what you do is helping guide people back to themselves. Yes. I want to start with your journey to go all the way back to, which I found out the night we went to karaoke was oh my gosh, you've been singing since what? How old? 2?
Pretty much since I could talk. The first time that I shared my voice that I recalled that was reflected back to me, my dad told me, was when I think I was 3 or 4 years old. I was sitting in the back seat of the car and he came in to strap me into my car seat and I just started singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And he was it was the sweetest, most angelic thing I ever heard, and I was wow, she can sing.
Wait, that's so crazy because one of the stories my family tells about me was me singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I jumped up on a couch or something and sang it, and then I was wouldn't sing it again. They were do it again. I was no.
They're one and done.
That's crazy. I just wanted to mention that because we keep finding more things we have in common, which is crazy. So you sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow in the back seat of your car, and that's the first time that, documented by your dad. Yeah. expressing, sharing your voice.
Yeah. But I was always that kid that would just sing all the time throughout the house. It's like once I started to realize that I could use my voice in that musical way, that's when I started or I guess I didn't really stop. It's like once I figured out I could sing, I didn't want to stop. I would say that a big part of that inspiration within me, or that innate like desire to share my voice and sing in that way, was for a variety of reasons, but one being that my parents played music for me when I was in my mom's belly. You know, like they played Mozart, they played, classical music, they played all these different songs, and I think my mom would sing to me, or like Rubber Belly, and like talk to me, before I was born, but I think that played a huge role in just music feeling so comfortable to me, and it was very soothing. My voice, when I'd sing, I realized that was a way that I would calm myself down. It was a way that I could use my voice to regulate my system.
Even back then,
because when you're a kid, you don't think about, I gotta do this specific technique and this method. Kids just automatically know what they need to do because they're much more connected to God, to source, without all the conditioning of this is how you're supposed to be. Yeah. So I've noticed kids just tend to have much deeper connection to their creativity and expression. And it's when they start to get exposed and they put themselves out there and somebody says something to them about their expression, that's when they start to question, well, is what I'm sharing even important? Or am I wrong for this? Or is this bad? Or did I do something bad? And then meaning is starting to be made about it. And that usually happens between ages, 0 to 7. Those are our primitive years of where our subconscious mind gets to really understand what is happening in the world and it wires itself to protect us. And
do you remember a time in your journey when that happened to you, where that voice, some external voice shut your voice down?
Yeah, so I always had that knack for music, and my parents wanted to inspire that and encourage it, so they'd put me into different singing lessons or choir, or I'd sing for my church, or different like groups and musicals, and so there was an audition process with that. And I went from being that fun-loving, playful, I'm just going to sing till my heart gives out when I was a kid, to, now I have to learn something and perform it, and then being judged about it. So I don't remember the exact age that I had my first audition or anything, but I think that played a huge role in wanting to prove myself that I could be good at something. And singing is a talent that I naturally just had, and now it's went from something that was fun and creative and part of regulating my system to, this could be seen as rejection, danger, and being exiled from the community if we were thinking about, evolutionary techniques. But so I think that there was a big influence about that, and that continued to happen throughout my young adult life too. I mean, even throughout
because you did like musical theater.
Yeah, all the time, between auditioning for solos, auditioning for parts in plays or musicals. There was just always this process of constantly needing to prove. And it wasn't just with music, it was also with sports, trying out for this team, or for school, getting into a program, or, excelling in a certain subject. You're constantly getting graded and questioned of, are you good enough to move forward? And so that was this repetitive cycle of, I need to shape how I show up to fit in with what other people want from me.
Right.
And that's when I started to lose my voice.
And it sounds like when it shifted from authentic expression for literally your health to performance and for others.
Yeah, and music is a way that we can express ourselves creatively, and not just for, nervous system regulation, which is a big piece of it, but also just to enjoy and to experience a beautiful part of life and to share that with other people. And sharing your voice can bring so much joy to others when you're not being judged for it, when you're not being like ridiculed or needing to fit into some box. And I experience that now in my life when I sing live on TikTok, or like I'm just sharing my voice online and people are like, oh my gosh,
whoever wants to listen.
Yeah, whoever wants to listen. Next. So that journey has evolved over time, but for me to be able to get to the point that I'm at today where I can just freely express myself without caring as much about what people say, there was a lot of steps that got me there, a lot of deprogramming that I had to go through.
I remember you saying, I think it was in Pure Pathways, your group coaching program that you wanted to be Hannah Montana when you grew up, when you were little. Yeah. And you kind of had this mindset shift around why that was and why you didn't necessarily want to be Hannah Montana anymore. What was that shift and what happened there?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I had the natural desire to sing, and so I was naturally drawn to other people who were doing that, such as Hannah Montana, Selena Gomez even, all the Disney Channel characters, Nickelodeon stars. That's what I grew up watching. And I remember just gazing at the TV, just in awe of, like, they're kids like me, maybe a little bit older, but they're living out their dream. Like, they get to sing and entertain people for fun and for a living and be a part of making that impact on other kids and inspiring them to use their voice. And so I always wanted to do that. Like, I remember I would be in my basement and I'd put up my dad's camera and I'd play my jukebox and I'd put my Hannah Montana or High School Musical CD in there and I would just like put on these concerts literally for myself.
Yeah,
like I would just
for fun.
For fun. Like, you're a kid, you play, and I remember just loving that. And Hannah Montana specifically, something about her just really, really sparked something within me and something resonated about that and about her specifically. And so then when I got older, I was thinking about going into musical theater, musical arts, vocal performance. I even auditioned, or I thought about auditioning for different colleges to do vocal performance, and I thought that was like, the thing I wanted to do for my career. And I remember I even auditioned for X Factor online, but they never even watched my videos. So it's like, there were many opportunities that I was excited to get out there, but then there was this inner fear of, well, what if I don't make it? Or what if someone judges me again? Or what if I'm not good enough? Those limited beliefs start to pop in your head, and then that holds you back from really putting yourself out there. And that happened. And I think that I started to kind of drift away from wanting to go down the professional musician career side to go more medical, because I was like, well, music can always be part of my life. I don't need to go to school for that. I don't need that as my profession. For medicine, though, like, I definitely wanted to help people, and I always had this fascination with the human body and learning about how it works and how do you live a good, healthy life. And so then I figured I had to go to school for that. So might as well go to school for medicine, become a doctor or PA or someone in the field that way, and then I could still have music on the side. But what I was reflecting on recently, because Hannah Montana just had her 20-year anniversary, and as she was being interviewed and talking about her experience and how she loved getting to be Hannah Montana, and this is Miley Cyrus, pretending to be Hannah Montana. Yeah. And
essentially the performative side, which is the irony of it.
Yes. So she was sharing about, like, her greatest gift that she felt she had was that she got to share and inspire these young girls that you don't have to be alone and you can express yourself and be you. And I'm trying to remember, there was something that she said in that clip that she got really emotional. And she said, my childhood looked so different than most people because I was always expected to be performing and be on, and I felt like nobody could relate to me because my life is so different. Like, other people my age, like, they're just going to school and they're just hanging out with their friends. Like, I had to get up and go work and as a kid. So, but I realized that throughout the whole journey she's been on for like the 20 plus years, her heart was in it the whole time, and she genuinely wanted to share her gifts with the world. And I think reflecting back now from when I was a kid being inspired by Hannah Montana to my adult self now, having gone on my own authentic journey, I realized that it wasn't just the singer Hannah Montana that I wanted to be. It was the woman who had her heart with her the whole time, and she did everything through love and care to bring light to the world. That's why I wanted to be Hannah Montana. And I didn't realize that until I was an adult and reflected back on that. And I wanted to sing and dance. But it went deeper than that.
This is going to be an interesting question. Knowing what you know now, having that realization, if you were to be teleported back to your pre-college self, deciding, do I go into medicine or do I pursue a professional career as a singer, actor, creative, in that way, how do you think you would make that decision differently?
I don't think I would have made it differently. I don't think I would have chose a different path. I think that everything happened the way it was supposed to. And even though I only worked full-time in the clinic for, just over a year, I don't regret that I got my degree and went through schooling, because it positioned me to be able to help people in such a deeper way. Because now I have the foundation of how does the body work, what happens when it's out of alignment, and as I continue to build on my skill sets with that and my deeper understanding and deeper knowing, and really it's a remembering, a deconditioning of how, we're taught about health and healing. And I get to pair that now with my creative side. And so now that I have my programs that help people come back to their true self, it might be like encouraging them to use their voice. It might be encouraging them through food and nutrition. It might be through detoxifying their body. Like, there's all these different avenues now that I get to use. And so ultimately I am living my dream. And I got there in a way that I wouldn't have expected. Mm-hmm. And sure, there's moments that I, would love to just go perform at jazz clubs and sing and do all that, and I still can. That's the beauty of life, is you get to choose what you do, and you don't have to, just because you pick one career doesn't mean you have to end there.
Yeah, I think what you said about you wouldn't have expected this path to get you where you are, I think a lot of people get stuck on that, thinking like, I want to be a singer, so I have to move to LA and drop everything and audition and get rejected 100,000 times. I think that can be a very specific path. And if you want singing, specifically using that as an example, to be a part of your life, there's so many other ways that it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, I think, is that you get to create your own job.
Literally.
Literally.
World is your oyster.
Whatever you want. And you sing, I sing, and our lives look different, but they also have similarities. And I think we're so focused on the end result of I got to get to Hollywood because I got to be discovered, and that's going to give me my big break. And I don't care how many times I get rejected because this is my dream. Mm-hmm. That's a whole different path. And that's someone, I think, who's focused on the outcome of, I need to be seen.
I need to be famous.
I need to be famous because that's going to solve all my life problems. Mm-hmm. And that's not just with the music industry, that's with any industry. Anything. And so I've learned that the entrepreneur path has taught me a lot about, it is not about you getting reaching that milestone of your career. It's not about making a certain amount of money, helping a certain number of people, or building or scaling to this certain point, or being discovered and reaching millions of people. It's who do you want to become? Who do you get to become throughout that process? And entrepreneurship for me has been that path of self-discovery. Mm-hmm. And as we've talked about that plenty of times,
forces you to self-discover.
It does, and there's
no choice.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best paths you can, well, I don't want to say the best path because it's all subjective.
Maybe for you,
It's been the best path for me that has helped me to better understand who I am, how do I want my days to look like, who do I want to surround myself with, and it really challenged me to question, if I can choose anything I want, what would I do? And would I do it, what would I be doing it for? What are my motivating factors? Mm-hmm. And also getting to explore all of the parts of you and getting to create something that's so unique that it's an extension of you. And, I've gone back and forth on thinking, I guess identifying with my career, and that's something that often happens with especially people who are very talented at a specific skill, whether it's music or sports, is they start to associate their identity with what they're good at. And so if they can't do it anymore, or if they don't succeed at it, then they feel like they are a failure. Yeah. And that meaning then gets translated to me as a person as a failure, not I just didn't do well at this thing. Right. So
it's a lot easier to take that level of responsibility in entrepreneurship, even though it still holds true that it's just information. I've also can relate to that mindset shift.
I think most entrepreneurs can.
But it's hard not to, because you don't have a scapegoat boss. Mm-hmm. It's your actions, And no matter what your intentions are set on, you could think you're intended on the right thing, but the results speak for what's actually
what's actually happening. Yeah, it definitely reveals and challenges you to step up and grow, and I'm grateful for that path. So
how do you feel, I'll gear this more towards content creation. How do you feel, because you've been creating content for how many years
10
now?
years.
10 years.
I just thought about this the other day.
10. Wait. 10. You've been creating content for 10 years, including because you started a YouTube channel where you would post singing. That was where it started.
That was before. Wow. Well, yeah, so I guess technically I've been creating since I was like a kid. But once social media started to become a thing, like I remember when Instagram came out, I think it was like 2012.
Yeah.
I like immediately got on it. Like I remember this is kind of silly, but I remember seeing Ariana Grande posted a video or a picture on Instagram, and I was like one of the first people to like it at the time. I was like, oh my God, is she gonna know who I am? But yeah, you're like, I'm early.
I'm like an early adapter or something.
Yeah, and it's like, that's such a thing on social media. It's like first comment, I started intentionally creating content for, with a purpose other than just sharing about my life when I was a senior in high school when I started my food journey, because that's when I started my food blog. But I guess now that I think about it, I started posting my singing videos on YouTube probably back in my sophomore or junior year of high school, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you feel content creation has contributed to your journey of finding your voice?
I think it's been one of the biggest catalysts to growth, finding my voice, because like we talked about before, when you first hear yourself on camera or on recording, or you see yourself on video, it can be a little startling. It's like, oh, that's me. Like, how did I come across? Do I look okay? Like,
that's how other people see me?
That's how other people see me, yeah. You start to come to those conclusions about yourself, and you think that the way you see yourself is the way everybody sees yourself, which isn't true, because it's all filtered through your own lens of conditioning. That was a journey within itself of getting comfortable with seeing myself on camera or hearing my voice and practicing showing up anyway. And I remember watching videos of myself when I was in high school or even early college days, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm Katie, like I'm gonna tell you about this awesome thing I just made today. Here's my like salad, or
here's my salad.
Or like, making little story videos and stuff that I have like still in my highlights from years ago. I look back now, I'm like, she was so young and naive and just like finding her way. And I remember one year I would they had all those like filters and stuff on your face. Those were like super popular back in the day. And you wear makeup and stuff because you want to like look a certain way. You want to make sure you look good. And I found that I didn't actually fully love and accept myself at that time. I felt like I still was stuck in that, I still have to perform and be somebody that I think other people are going to accept.
Who am I supposed to be?
Who am I supposed to be? Yeah, and that was a big theme throughout my life, but it revealed itself to me in content because I got to see the progression over the years and look back and see the shifts that I made. And so I remember one year, this was when I was already moved to St. Pete, and I was like, I think this year my challenge is going to be no filter. I'm just not going to put a filter on any of my videos or my pictures. And that was a challenge because you now have to be okay with allowing yourself to be seen unfiltered, raw. And that
not
was
only by other people but by yourself.
And it was both, yeah. And I challenged myself to like not even wear makeup and put my video out there. And just through repetition of continuing to push myself and get out of my comfort zone through how I showed up online, that revealed so much self-love and acceptance that I didn't even realize was happening at the time. Because at first I was like, this is like a fun little challenge. Like, I'll just do this because the filters are kind of weird now and I don't know what's going to happen. But then it ended up continuing on and I was like, well, what else can I do? How else can I challenge myself to put myself more out there? Not just with how I look, but what I say. And what if I say something controversial? What if I speak my truth or my beliefs about something that shakes the boat a little bit?
Yeah. And social media gives you that easily accessible stage to practice that people are going to see.
Yeah, and I think I realized one of the biggest lessons that I learned from that was that I started to care less and less about what the feedback was. And I just enjoyed putting myself out there because it proved to myself that I could do it, and nothing bad happened, actually. Like, I didn't die, like, I wasn't, like, ridiculed. And even if somebody made a bad comment or, called me out or tried to challenge my belief, I might get a little triggered in the moment, but I was like, yeah.
You realize that you'll survive.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the limited beliefs we put on ourselves about how we show up is a protective safety mechanism that our subconscious mind, our nervous system is putting in place to protect us. And when I started to realize that too, I'm like, I get to choose. If it's coming from me, I also get to choose then what I want to see it as well. Yeah. And then just, also through the work that we've done with content creation as well, like that.
For context, we worked together. It was like 2 years ago now, I think.
Yeah, because it was when I started
when I first launched my one-on-one coaching program.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that helped me with really putting myself out there was I was good and comfortable with putting things on my story.
Yes, this is a thing I talk to people about all the time.
When you put on your story, you're like, oh, it's going to go away in 24 hours. That means that if it's bad or if I look weird or if I say something awkward, it'll go away and nobody will ever see it again. But when you transition from putting that type of content on your feed post, that's going to be there as like a resume when somebody goes to look you up, that's more like set in stone, even though you can delete it, but it feels so much of a bigger deal.
You feel more exposed.
Yeah.
And even a layer deeper than that. It's so interesting. So many people have said this, and I think we may have even talked about it, but TikTok to people feels less pressure too, even than Instagram, because Instagram is where a lot of times people's family follow them. Or Facebook, even scarier.
Yeah, grandma's on there.
yeah. Facebook is terrifying. But just the idea that it's permanent and you're seen and you're standing on a platform.
Yeah, and if you were to relate that to the olden days, it's like instead of social media on our phone, it's like that would be an example of someone literally standing on a podium preaching to their whole village, like, hear ye.
This I present to you is Katie Rufino.
And they're just like, everyone looks like, damn you. How dare you?
Why is your hair like that today?
How dare you go against our village?
No, but that's a good analogy because it's like the modern day stage. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. And we were talking about this as we were setting up, that something about content, just recording it in general, when people tense up on camera, like general camera confidence, is because it starts to feel more permanent.
Yeah, it starts to feel permanent. It's like you're declaring who you are, and that can be really scary to have a stance. And when you don't have clarity on who you are, it's a lot easier to get sucked into what other people want you to be. And a lot easier for you to be like, oh, well, I guess that makes sense, or I guess I could believe what you think, even though I feel like I believe this and that's different, but not standing strong and confident as, no, this is what I believe and this is my truth. And I think that the more you practice showing up online, the easier it becomes to stand your ground in your life outside of content as well.
And it's like practicing being yourself.
Yeah, it's a way to practice and like putting yourself out there where at least you're behind a screen. You're not really seeing that person's face, like you're talking to that person specifically. And even to this day, I still get a little nervous sometimes when I'm singing in front of people. But then when I'm singing on TikTok Live, I'm like, there's thousands of people that join in. And I it's a video, literally a picture of myself that gets reflected back.
That's actually a really interesting thought because, and I've never actually thought of it this way, but it takes away that feedback that someone like you're describing in your journey where you are performing for other people, you almost get so attuned to like their reactions that you just respond based on their reactions.
Yes.
And so the content, it takes that layer away, so there's nothing to respond to but yourself.
So that's where
that's a really good point. Yeah.
You're a mirror of yourself, and that's when I go live, I literally see a reflective mirror of myself every time I'm singing. So I see people in the comments, like, whether it's positive things or like, who's this chick? Sing a different song, like whatever.
There's always one of those.
There's always those people, or someone being inappropriate, but it's like, it always gets filtered out. But I don't see their facial expressions.
Exactly.
I don't see them cringing or turning their head a certain way.
Or a blank stare.
Or like the admiration. I don't see any of that. And so I just do it purely for the enjoyment of I love to sing and I want to share this with people. I was on FaceTime with a friend the other day and I was like playing piano and singing and I got so nervous. I was like, why am I so nervous? This is one person in front of me, but we were on FaceTime. So like I could see the facial expressions were like back to me. And it reminds me of when I'm talking to people or speaking in front of other people, whether I'm on a physical stage or like giving a presentation or something. You look out into the audience and you can see, like, some people look bored, some people look excited, like, some people are leaning in, some people are, like, on their phone, like, but if you focus on the people that are disengaged or looking like they're judging you, that can really get you in your head of, oh, did I say something wrong? And then you start to question what you're actually sharing, rather than not having that live feedback, you just share. You're just like, this is me.
Social media is a mirror, and I think people think of it as just like this thing I need to do to market my business. But it truly is an exercise in finding yourself, finding your voice, because it reflects you back at you.
Starting out making content, I think that making content is a great training ground to then put yourself out there in the real world. And I would say for my own personal development, the next step for me that will really push me and grow me is not just speaking in front of the camera, but getting out and speaking in front of the audience of people.
When you have that
When you have the feedback live, and can you still stay strong in your message and believe what you're saying?
Yeah.
And I think that is the next level of, are you really sure who you are?
And I think that would be huge for you, like with the open mics, because from my experience with the open mics, that was exposure therapy to that. I'm still not perfect at the I feel like it's a skill that takes so much time and so many reps to perfect, of not reacting to that initial feedback. But it's funny, actually yesterday Dylan, our mutual friend, sent me a video talking about how audience members are a lot of times look bored. And as a performer on stage, you start thinking like, oh my gosh, they're so bored. I need to amp it up. Why aren't they laughing? But in a lot of instances, it's just us projecting. Because I think about myself at a theater, and I'm like, I probably have a straight face. Like, I probably look bored.
Oh, yeah. And then, but on the inside, you're like, wow, this is so good.
Yeah, but your face is like...
face is like glazed over. Yeah. I know another thing, just kind of random, I guess on the same topic, but when I go to performances, like musical theater, like when I was in Broadway in the new year, I saw Mamma Mia. There was just something about the way that they were performing and the enthusiasm, the like heart connection they had, and just the pizzazz, I just was crying, like, probably, I think I cried like 7 times throughout that show. And
That's how you know the performing's good.
That's right. But, like, I'm sitting way in the back, they can't see me, but they're also so dialed in that they, they've learned to just completely filter that out and, like, not even consider it. But yeah, I just remember it hit something in me, and I'm just like, I just felt like I was beaming, and I'm like, I started crying because I'm like, I think I'm supposed to be on that stage someday. And not that it necessarily needs to be Broadway and some musical, I mean, who knows, but whenever I see other people expressing and being themselves, it just hits something in me. I'm like, look at them go. Like, they're doing
it's not even that you want the praise and recognition. It's like, I just want to feel what it feels like to go up there and like just be myself and have no reaction to the external, just like be.
Oh, okay. So that just reminded me. When I was a kid and I was in these musical theater performances, I was playing a part. When I was playing a different character, it was so much easier for me to perform. And I remember we were auditioning as a choral group. We were auditioning for The Wizard of Oz to be the Munchkins on their performance in downtown Detroit.
Yeah.
And it was televised and everything, and it was such a big deal at the time because we're like, oh my God, we could end up being like the Munchkins for this show. And I remember up until that point, I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm at practice. Like, yeah, I'm singing the song and dancing and like, like I wasn't fully in it. My heart wasn't fully in it. But when it came to performance day, something came over me and I was like smiling and dancing and I was so much more expressive. And I remember my coach was like, what happened? Something in you came alive. And I thought that was interesting that happened. But then more along the lines of when I'm playing a part, it was so much easier for me as a kid to perform when I was playing somebody else. But when it came to me sharing vulnerably a song that I really wanted to sing, or, you know, for my school choir, and I had a solo or something, I got more nervous because it felt like I was more vulnerable. Because if I did something weird or I moved a certain way, if I was playing me, that would be more fragile to be. If somebody judged me for that, I would take it more personally, versus if I did something silly or goofy as a character, I'm like, oh, I'm just playing the part. It's not actually me doing that.
Yeah.
So it was a one degree of separation, of protection, of not, you know, allowing the judgment to come through. But when you're a kid, you know,
you don't know the difference.
You don't know the difference.
Yeah. That's why I think a lot of celebrities talk about creating a persona. And I mean, that's what I did essentially online at first. And then also, even like to tie it back to Broadway stars, my voice coach, Scott, that I had on the first episode of this series, he always tells me about the same thing happens to them. Like the most experienced singers, it's so much harder for them, scare them to do a concert, as he hosts concerts where they're themselves, they're not a character, and that their anxiety is just heightened.
Yeah, and I think that if you're a new performer, new artist, or you're putting yourself out there in the beginning stages, it can be easy to think that, oh, all these people who've been doing it for years, they don't get stage fright, you know, they're fine, they've done it so many times, it's probably so easy for them, and you watch them perform and you're like, yeah, that was great. But then you realize they're still human, and they still have real human emotions and feelings, and still experience the stage fright and the vulnerability piece and the fear of being judged and seen. So yeah, it's all related, but I think that the being seen part, everybody wants to be seen. We all deeply desire to be met exactly where we are and to be accepted for who we are. Yeah. We all desire that. And so because I felt that's been such a strong part of my path with finding my own voice and doing all the things that I've done, that's inspired me to want to show up for others in helping them to feel seen, but then also not care as much about that. Like, still honor that you want to be seen, but then also see yourself, not just by others.
And letting that be the driver's seat, not being seen by others. I think that's the distinction there.
Yeah, I think we still, as humans, deeply desire love and connection. I think we all want that at the core, and that's why we often do the things we do, is to be loved and to be seen and to be praised, you know, for doing a good job. We all want that. And some people express it one way, other people express it another. And I think when you're creative, it's even deeper with that. Like, I just want people to recognize my art. I want them to get it.
Yes.
Like, to see the vision that I see. And I used to think that was way more important of, I got to express it this certain way for people to get it. Because if they get it, then I did it right. But now I see art is literally a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of the creator. Yeah, it's the creator expressing, but whoever sees the art and witnesses it, it says more about themselves.
It's a mirror for them.
Yeah, same thing with content.
Yeah, same idea.
So yeah, I think that through all my training of the subconscious mind and understanding how our brains work, it's knowing that we all experience and take in the same amount of information at once. I think it's like, like almost close to 1 billion bits of information between the lighting and the colors and details and everything, all our sensory input. But each individually, we only register about 126 bits of information at one time. And what 126 bits we take in depends on what we're distorting, what we're deleting information, what we're generalizing about that experience based off of our own internal program and the lens that we see the world through. So someone who has a bunch of baggage might see that lens as being dirty and fogged, so they misinterpret something, or they see it as, if somebody makes a comment, like, oh, they're, judging me and looking down on me. And so if someone's performing and they have that lens of baggage of everyone hates me, nobody sees me, I'm not good enough, then no matter what happens outside, it's coming in through this filter that then projects back to them as the meaning making of, this means I am bad, wrong, no good, whatever the belief is.
So in your practice and what you teach and what you do, how do you teach somebody to break that filter down so that they're seeing clarity, they're seeing truth? Because I think that ties directly to finding that real voice, because that is the clarity, that is the truth.
Yes, and that's the key. It's how do you release the conditioning and the things that have been distorting your view of yourself? And so through NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, I work through those blocks with people. I help through specific question asking is to uncover what are the deeper beliefs that someone has about themselves that was created from a significant emotional event at some point throughout their life. Maybe they, for example, if someone's a singer, maybe they were auditioning for a part and that person who is auditioning them was really mean. And they said a really hurtful thing. And that person then, at that moment, created the belief that I suck at this, I'm no good, I will never be famous, or I'll never, be good at what I do. Yeah. And that belief then stayed with them because it was then planted. It planted that seed. So then now, no matter what they do, they're always thinking about, well, if I'm no good, then I got to do all these things to be better, but then what's the point? Then they start to spiral. But so what I'll do as somebody is we'll go through and we'll figure out what's the block. What is their goal? What do they want? What do they want to work towards? So like if we're still using the context of a singer, maybe it's somebody who's like, I really know I'm talented, but there's something that holds me back from really getting to that next level or putting myself out there or allowing myself to be fully seen. So then I ask them like, well, what do you believe about yourself to be true for that to then be your reality? And so, we uncover what are those root beliefs. And it's usually like, I'm not worthy, I'm not good, there's something wrong with me. It's usually very much a personal belief of what they believe about themselves. And then after, uncovering all the different beliefs that they have and understanding what's the filter they've been living life through, then we go through and release. And we do the subconscious release work to release and change those beliefs, shift them from something like I'm not worthy to I am inherently worthy as a human because I exist and I'm me and that's good enough, for example. And so that is really helpful to then start shifting at that internal level so that way their external reality shifts because of that. And releasing any emotion that they maybe didn't get to process at that time too. So maybe at that moment that they heard that hurtful thing, they started to feel sad or hurt, or some anger, or some fear and sadness. So I allow them space to really sit with those emotions and feel them, because we want to acknowledge what you felt in that moment. Maybe otherwise you didn't feel safe to feel or express at the time, but now you can. And so that within itself helps you to release the weight that you've been carrying for so long.
Yeah. And with the subconscious, I think a lot of times people don't realize it. So potentially, is this one of the struggles that you run into in like getting this point across to people? How do you guide people from the point of like, I am having this struggle, like nothing is going right in my life. Like I'm trying to do this thing and I keep trying and trying and trying, but I just can't get there, to like help them to understand like, this can be fixed in this subconscious way, this belief reprogramming workflow, I guess.
Yeah, I think the first step is teaching somebody that there's nothing wrong with them. And so often when we aren't getting what we want in life, we start to immediately think that there's something wrong with us. Or especially when it comes to creative endeavors, like, I must not be good enough, or, all the things that come up. So it's understanding there's nothing wrong with you. And also, if you've been pushing and pushing and pushing and doing it one way, and it's not getting you the results, maybe there's something
Understanding
else.
there's another way.
There's another way.
So it almost
to do
would,
it.
for a lot of cases, take people trying things over and over again, and then they're like, all right, we got to do something. Something's not working here.
Yeah, exactly. And also understanding how humans physiologically work. And that's where it generalizes it enough to be like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me specifically. This is just how humans work. So why not go in flow with how a human actually works rather than working against myself, working against the flow. So when I say that, I really mean is that our so we have the unconscious mind and we have the conscious mind. The conscious mind is what we can focus on and think directly about. So like, my conscious mind says, this is water. This is a microphone. I am sitting here on this podcast. This is Hallee. You know, like, that's my conscious mind thinking.
It's the front. It's the forefront of, it's the easy to see thing that
we can actually think about at one specific time. The unconscious mind,
which is like those bits you said that we can take in.
The 126 bit is like, that's what's in my conscious mind right now. Everything else is in the unconscious mind. It's what's deeper. It's what's driving us without us thinking about it. A great example of that is I don't have to tell my body to breathe. It just unconsciously knows to breathe because I don't need to use my conscious space to tell myself to breathe. Otherwise, I'd have no space to think about everything else.
It's like RAM memory on a laptop.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of analogies you can use. Yeah. So, but essentially, our unconscious mind is wired to work with us and to protect us and to support us. And so, what happens is when we're young and we have these significant emotional events, is our unconscious mind then starts to jump in and say, oh, that thing happened, that was scary. Let's create this program or this belief to protect us so we don't feel that thing again. And so our thoughts, our beliefs, those beliefs that we create at the unconscious level are then what drive our thoughts and then drive our behaviors, and our behaviors then dictate our results. So if someone's trying to shift the result by changing the behavior, that's like trying to will yourself to do something like you're forcing yourself, oh, I just gotta make more content. I just gotta practice more. I just gotta sing better. I just gotta take more lessons. Like if we're, again, talking about singing. But really, if you're focused solely on the behavior and you don't do anything to shift the thoughts or the beliefs, then you're going to eventually get back to where you were because the default mode is that subconscious belief that's running in the background. So you're actually like wasting your effort and time trying to focus on this end part when you really should go back to the root and solve the root to then free up this path so you get different results. So with the work that I do with people is help them to get down and uncover what that root is. What is that root belief that's driving all your behavior and the self-sabotage that happens and the patterns that it created in your life, the strategies you develop to keep you safe, and then shift that so that way you can actually show up differently. So if so imagine if you believe that you are inherently a bad person, you're going to believe that nobody wants to see me then.
Well, you could use the example. I mean, I think here for me, what in my voice journey specifically, I had someone early on tell me, well, she's never going to be a singer, someone close to me, because I would sing my heart out. Like I said, the Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Yeah. And I truly, like, since that time hearing that from that person, like, I don't remember singing much unless I was, like, in my room and no one was going to hear me. And even then, like, well, I'm not that good, so, like, why would I ever? And I even remember in high school, there was this group of people there was this one girl that was really good at singing, and then, like, a few other people would jump in and they would, like, sing and harmonize, and they'd be like, Hallee, jump in. I'm like, no, I suck at singing. Like, that was always my go-to defense, and it was, like, a defense, like, because now I don't have to be put on the spot. I suck.
And so that is a perfect example of there was a significant emotional event that happened. You were told, oh, she's not going to be a singer. You accepted that belief. And then now it's played out in all the different situations. So you suppress the voice. You don't share. Or you already automatically assume, well, I'm not good, so why even try? Why even put myself out there? Because I know that if I do, then I risk that somebody will reject me again or say something bad or wrong. Yeah. And so then when that happens, then no matter how much you try to, like, get the voice lessons, work on it, if you still hold on to that belief that I'm not good at singing, then you're just going to eventually self-sabotage, whether you botch a, audition or you, do something where you're then late and you miss it. Like, those are the things that happen where we show up. I mean, we all self-sabotage in different ways.
Yeah.
And so if you don't want to keep doing that, then there's ways to reduce that chance of you doing that through working on the subconscious mind. And when I started to realize this and put the two and two together of, there's literally something inside my brain that's telling me to do it this way when I really want to be doing it this way. But why can't I do it this way?
And sometimes you can literally see it and feel it playing out in real time, where you're like, why am I doing this thing? I can't stop it. It's just happening. It's you can't stop it. And you're like, what is happening?
Yeah, and someone who's actually very self-aware, that's like hell for them to be like, I literally know this pattern's playing out, but I can't do anything about it. And then that's where you get stuck in the loop of self-doubting and criticizing, and it makes it worse. But that's where, for someone who actually is very self-aware, NLP is very helpful, because they usually are more aware of what those limited beliefs are, those deep programs, so that way they can release them. Yeah. And for anybody who wants to go down this journey or work on themselves in these ways, these deeper ways, all they have to do is just be ready to let it go. That's it. And then they just trust the process, and I guide them through it. It works 100% of the time, so long as the person's ready to let it go.
I think that's the hardest thing. I mean, even for me, and you probably know this as my friend, you're like, Hallee, you're stubborn AF. And I know that about myself, and I can, in the same way, feel it happening. But like for somebody like me who's maybe stubborn about it, or they have a hard time accepting that truth, how can they work to get to that place where they feel ready or safe or able to accept that type of thing? You're like,
I love that you brought that up, because that was actually a point I wanted to make next about something that's really helped me mindset-wise. Because so once I started learning about, I can shift my mindset, I want everything gone then. And I was like, I just kept doing so much release work. I was like, it was like I was mining for baggage.
Yeah,
I'm
like where?
All right, where's the baggage? Let me get it, because if I release the baggage, then I can get what I want out of life. Yeah, let's do that. So then it's becomes that, it shifts from, I'm doing these strategies to, get this thing, but I'm meeting all this resistance, to, well, now I'm going to shift all my hypersensitivity and achievement energy towards releasing the things that, it's so silly when you think about it.
Yeah.
So the biggest mindset shift that has helped me to come to terms with the fact that I too can be stubborn or an overachiever or high-performing type, which can be very hard for people that always want to achieve and do and be more, is learning to love all the parts of myself. Not just loving the fact that I can sing, or that I'm a high achiever, or heavily motivated or disciplined. That's great. And also learning to love that I too can be a pain in the butt and be stubborn and want to always be doing more and more. I've learned to love that about myself too.
So it's loving the shadow side,
Yes.
Ultimately. It's loving the shadow side. First step one is seeing the shadow side, which I think people struggle with. And then once you see it, can you love and accept it?
And accept it? Yes, exactly. And so that's actually a big part of what I do now to help people, is not just, there's something to fix. There's a program to let go of, and that still puts you kind of in that mode of you're not there yet. There's something more to do for you to be better or there. And so the shaman that I've worked with, and I just catered his retreat, he talks a lot about how society programs us to always be chasing something else. We always need to be bettering ourselves and growing and evolving and doing more and more and more. But really that keeps us on the cycle of you're never there. You're never at that point where you're good. And same thing with, even this type of work could be seen that way, but it's your perspective around it. And so when I first started doing this work for myself, I did see it as, there's stuff to fix about me. I need to release all this baggage, because then I'll be free. That implies, therefore, that I'm not free yet. But that is the illusion.
So it's like you're using the tool to trap yourself in the same thought pattern that was problematic in the beginning, which is essentially not being enough, and just continuously striving for that more.
Yes. And so while it can be helpful as a tool, ultimately you want to make sure that it's bringing you back to wholeness. It's bringing you back to fully loving and honoring and accepting yourself. And this might be a little woo-woo, but right recently I've gotten into understanding there is people of the light, there's the lightness, and there's the darkness. There's a lot of darkness that also exists in the world. And I used to think that I just had to be the most bright, shining light to overshine the darkness.
Can you define the two?
The light is godlike, happiness, joy, peace, love, highest vibration, authenticity, all of that in God's light, in God's creation. And then the darkness is the opposite of that. It's whatever's not that, the absence of light. So I thought that in order to shine out the darkness and to bring, more joy, love, happiness, peace, authenticity to the world, I had to just be more of that light to shine and inspire other people. Now that's great. It's definitely important to do that, but that doesn't handle the darkness. It only suppresses and ignores the fact that it's there. And so then I thought, I had to then heal the darkness. I had to then heal all the things to the darkness for the world to be a better place. That's still there's a disconnect and not full acceptance and love of the darkness. Now I've started to realize that it's not so much about changing, fixing, outshining the darkness. It's about loving the darkness. Loving the shadow of yourself and loving the darkness that exists in the world, because love is the only thing that can actually transmute.
Cure it.
Anything.
Yeah.
So what does that even mean? What does that look like in a practical sense? It's when someone, calls you a bad name or does something that's harmful or hurtful, you show that person love and compassion. You don't judge them. You don't ridicule them. You don't see them as other. They are still human. They're still part of this world, and so you love it.
And that's one of the hardest things to do, because when someone hurts you, it's that much harder to show that love and compassion, which I told you about that book I just read, Think Like Jesus, is the essential argument in that book. While it's not necessarily a religious book, it's to act in that loving way, regardless.
Yeah, because essentially we live in a dual and non-dual universe reality of dual meaning we are separate, we are other, like you are a different person than me. That is dual. But then the non-dual is that we are all one. We are all created in the image of God. We are all connected. And so for you to reject, put down, ridicule that other person for showing up this way that you didn't like, what is that then saying about yourself? Because they're merely a mirror of you. So if you can't learn to love and accept them, what about yourself can you not learn to love and accept? What that still keeps you then stuck in the you're not there yet. Yeah. So if you can learn to love and accept the light and the dark within you, then you can show up in a different way.
And accept it in other people too.
And accept it in others. And give yourself grace. I mean, we're all not, we are divinely perfect, but then we're also not the same. We're not perfect in the human sense. We make mistakes. We have our tendencies, we slip up, we, might say something that's hurtful. And it's not I'm all love and light over here, anything I say.
Back off, you darkness.
Yeah, it's not everything I say, I'm not taking accountability for, because, it's just a mirror of you. It's taking accountability for who you are and how you show up and learning to love all of that, which is then comes through. And so circling that way back to the beginning of our conversation about finding your voice and sharing yourself, I think a big reason why people don't share their true self is because they don't fully love their darkness. They don't fully love
so
their
they
shadow.
feel like they have to hide it, and they have to constantly perform.
They have to outshine their darkness by being more likable, being more of what they think other people want to see. And this is actually something we talked about at the retreat that I was at last week, is that I was being challenged in the sense of I still feel like there's times where I will perform or try to curate how I'm perceived by others. And so part of that was I wanted to show up in my role of being the caterer and make sure everyone really enjoyed my food, and I wanted that good feedback. I wanted to do a good job. And I remember Stephen, the retreat host, asked me the question. He's like, do you think that you could say something hurtful to somebody even if you thought it was true? Like, would you be able to just completely shame somebody just for the fact of shaming them? And I was like, no, I could never do that. Like, that would be so hurtful.
Yeah.
But I realized the question he was really asking was, can you allow yourself to be authentic enough that if you say something that offends or hurts somebody, you're still speaking your truth, and you have to trust that whatever they receive it as is on them.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like, oh, that's some work that I need to do.
Yeah, it's an honesty thing.
Yeah.
And it's really hard because I think in the same sense of like the audience with the initial reaction, I similarly learn to protect them from my true if there's a judgment, or if it's not even just a judgment, but like I'm seeing something they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I remember when you asked that question, I was looking around, I'm like, I could totally judge the pants off of every person here. Like, I could say, I don't like your shirt, I don't like your pants, like, your hair looks weird.
I also think there's a difference between a judgment and a truth.
Just true, honest,
truth. Reflecting
discussion.
A truth back. I think that was a really good tie back to the beginning and the finding your voice. So one of the things we talked about, like, preparing for this, I said in the first episode something along the lines of, like, you need to find your voice to find your confidence. And one of the questions in, like, the little intake form thing we did, you said you believe it's deeper than that. And I think that speaks to everything we've talked about. But to specifically go off of that question, what does finding your voice do for you? What is that deeper thing?
Mm-hmm. I think that that's exactly what we were just talking about. It's like learning to fully love and accept yourself in all the ways. And from that, the result is confidence. Because when you show up and you're like, I'm fully me, and I'm okay with that. And it's not just I love myself and accept myself, but it's I'm okay with how my self-expression shows up in the world, and I might care a little bit about what people think, but I don't let that define me.
Right.
That's what true confidence is, and allowing yourself to freely express. And I think that in today's day and age, confidence is seen as, competency, or being really good at something, so therefore I have confidence in it. And there's partial truth to that, but I think it's deeper in the sense that it's more about learning to love and accept and be okay with whatever happens as a result of you expressing yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think listening to you talk about the rewiring of the belief, one of the things I talk about is like showing up consistently and like building confidence through proof. Mm-hmm. I think that, and you tell me what you think, it seems like that is maybe the longer way to do it, because you will shift that belief eventually if you prove to yourself that you can do it. And then you're like, I am a person, because I am a person that can show up for myself because I have evidence now, versus going to the core and doing it
so it's
proactively.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both. I think that on one hand, what helps to make that more easeful of like putting yourself out there and getting the practice to then get the evidence to come back is if you release the blocks, the resistance, so you can take action. That's one piece. But then also through taking action, you show yourself a new way. You start to shift that belief of, I thought this before, but I just have all this evidence now of me doing it this way. I am good at this. I can do this. Well, maybe that belief that I had before isn't so true anymore. And then I would like this belief instead. I'm going to take this one on. And this is actually exactly what I teach with the Trust Your Gut method of like helping someone to connect with what is your yes and what is your no and making any decision in life, and trusting yourself enough with the small decisions in life, like what am I want to eat? What am I going to wear? What am I going to do today? And being able to make that decision based off of what your body, your intuition's telling you to do, and trusting that yes for you and choosing that and seeing what happens after that and trusting, I listened to myself, I made the choice, this is what happened, it worked out great, now I'm going to do it again and again and again. Through repetition, you're learning to build that muscle of self-trust. And then you can show up in a whole different way.
Yeah. So it's almost locking it in.
Yeah, it is. And there's 4 steps for change. There's The first step is doing release work. This is what I was taught in my NLP training, is the first step is you got to do the release work. You got to release anything that's resisting you from showing up and taking action. So that's step 1. Step 2 is setting a goal. So understanding where are you going. Now that you've done the release work, now you're at like kind of like a neutral position. Now you have to set the stage. Like, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? What direction do I want to go in? Then the third step is taking action. So it's through continuous action, through repetition, you're now solidifying those beliefs that wanted to come through from the release work and the goal setting. So that solidifies all that work that was just done. Now you're proving it to yourself, oh, this is actually my reality now because I have evidence that it happened. This change has happened. And then the fourth step is maintaining that positive mentality around what I actually want in my life is possible for me. And I'm going to be fully present in my mind, body, spirit throughout the whole process. Because if you don't actually believe it's possible for yourself, then you're not going to show up. And then, what's the point of all the other stuff?
Yeah.
All the other steps.
So in that, what you just said, if somebody's listening to this and they're like, well, I want to find my voice, maybe I'm already on that journey, or like I want to start taking that journey, what is the first tangible thing that they can do?
Well, I mean, if we go off the 4 steps, step 1 is to do the release work.
I'll just rewind.
Go back like a minute.
Yeah, so it's essentially the step 1 of that process that you just laid out.
Yeah, it's getting radically honest with themselves and looking deeper at why they haven't found their voice yet.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you realize the voice has been within you the whole time. It's just letting yourself see it and hear it. So a practical tool that anybody here listening can actually use to free up the energy around their voice to start to improve their ability to speak, sing, whatever it is, use their voice, is we have these different chakras in our body. We have 7 chakras, and I think it's the 5th chakra is our throat chakra. And so the throat chakra is directly associated with our voice, and it's right by our vocal cords, thyroid, things like that. And so a way to calm down and release energy through the throat chakra, if there's any energetic blocks, is to hum. Is to actually start using your voice. And humming is actually very calming to the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is one of the main nerves that runs throughout the body to calm and activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is related to rest and digest and that more like calming feeling. So you can hum. What I also like to do is when I'm doing some breath work, breath of fire can be really helpful, or have that oceanic like breathing. So you'd breathe in through the nose and exhale with your mouth closed, but
that's the yoga breathing.
Yoga breathing.
Yeah, I've done that in yoga.
Like trying to warm up your hand or see your breath when it's cold.
Is that the fire breathing?
That's not technically called breath of fire, but that's an oceanic ujjayi pranayama or yogic breathing. And so that is very helpful for activating the vocal cords as well. And then another piece you can do is you can do it when you're alone or with people. It might be a little bit more safe or comfortable to do it by yourself. But when I'm breathing in, I just exhale like the loudest I can. And I just make like whatever sound that wants
The people in the hallway are like, are they okay in there?
So, yeah. And so you basically, you're allowing yourself to just fully express your voice in a way that doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to sound a certain way. You don't have to match a certain tone. I mean, you can listen to a song in vocal tone, or you can, hit a sound bowl and try to match the tone. And that can be very healing to open up your vocal cords. But I would just suggest allowing your body to just make whatever sound it wants. And that's a great practice for you to get in touch with your real voice and be okay with expressing whatever wants to be expressed.
And on the note of real voice, Katie has a really awesome transformation, vocal transformation, which I actually haven't listened to yet, but you expressed that it made a huge difference from high school to now. Yeah. So we're going to cut to that real quick so you guys can hear her sing.
Check it out. Guess what I just found? I found an old recording of when I sang during high school at a classical singing vocal performance. And when I was playing this back, I noticed that my voice sounded so different. Fast forward 10 years later, I think that the biggest thing that has affected my voice is the more I've learned to trust my gut and the more confidence I've had in myself to speak my truth, my voice has gotten stronger. And the fear of speaking out and showing that big voice that I have has diminished. So today is day 15 of the Trust Your Gut Challenge. We are halfway through to 30 days. And I thought that it would be fun to see if I can sing this song again that I sang 10 years ago at this competition. It's a little cringeworthy listening back to this, I'm gonna be honest, but I thought it'd be fun to sing one of the small parts and just compare to see how my voice has matured. Okay, that was me, senior year of high school. I have not warmed up or practiced this at all. I'm going to now sing that same verse.
Okay, well, Katie, thank you so much for being on. This was awesome. You guys can connect with Katie in the comments. I'm going to put all her links. I think you said Instagram's typically the best place to reach you, but whatever those links are, we'll drop them. We'll have them in the description. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Hallee.